Alright, so in this review lesson, we're going to review the substitution property. So, real quick, the substitution property is when you replace a variable with a numerical value. I had to have made this pretty tired because when I looked in this before, it said when you replace a variable with a valuable, replace valuable with numerical value, please, on your notes. Substitution property is a lot like if you're playing a sport, like basketball, volleyball, football. When someone substitutes in for you, you come off the field and they go in. So it's the same thing with the substitution property. So when I'm looking at this first example, and when you're doing this for your work shown, you should write r plus 1 plus p, and then maybe give me that p was 4 and r is 2. And then you're going to write each of these next steps. That will be equal to... Now, I highly, as in, please do this, suggest substituting into parentheses. So, r is 2 plus 1 plus the fact that p is 4. And the reason I suggest that is, if either of these were negative, I could easily end up losing a negative because I didn't put it in parentheses and I lost track of signs. So it's just, in my many years of teaching, I highly suggest you substitute into parentheses. And then after you've substituted in, you can drop parentheses later. So we're going to use now order of operations. So I'm going to take 2 plus 1, which is 3, and then finish off the fact that it'll be plus 4, and the fact that 3 plus 4 is 7, so my final answer is 7. Again, this is how I want to see your work. Original problem and answer is definitely not going to cut it. So keep that in mind. This is how I want to see your work. Alright, so again, we would write m parentheses n plus n minus m minus p, all of that being in parentheses. So again, I'm going to use parentheses to plug into, so I'm going to be 3, my m is 3. Now, I'm going to make this a bracket, just so I can tell the difference between parentheses and my grouping symbol. My n is 2, so parentheses 2 plus and then 2. And then I'm going to close my bracket. Minus, again, I'm going to use brackets. 3 minus 2. And I didn't come up with these problems, so I don't know why both n and p are 2, but that's what they chose, so that's what we go with. From here, we use order of operations. So order of operations tells us we evaluate what's inside our grouping symbols. So the 3 is going to stay on the outside. Inside my bracket, I have 2 plus 2, which is 4. And then minus 3 minus 2. So 3 minus 2 is 1. And then order of operations says that we do multiplication before we do subtraction. So 3 times 4 is 12 minus 1, and 12 minus 1 is 11. So substitution is the first step. After that, we just go into order of operations, which was our last video. So again, substituting into parentheses, I'm going, where I have grouping symbols, I'm going to make them brackets. So again, I don't know why both of them are the same, but b is 5 and a is 5 minus a, close my brackets, divide by 4. I'm going to use brackets again for my grouping symbol, a plus b. Alright, so then from here, order of operations says that we do our grouping symbols first. So within this grouping, I have 5 times 5, which is 25, minus 5, divided by the 4 times. I'm going to go ahead and do this grouping. 5 plus 5 is 10. Now from here, 25 minus 5 gives us 20. divided by, and I know you really want to take the 4 times 10, but you can't. Because remember, our next step after grouping symbols and we check for exponents, our next step is to make sure that we do multiplication and division from left to right. So in this case, division came first. And so we are going to take 20 divided by 4, which is 5. And then we will take that 5 times 10, which is 50. If I would have done 4 times 10, I would have had 20 divided by 40, which would have given us 1/2. Completely different answers. Division and multiplication happen at the same time, or at the same level, and from left to right. So the division came first, so we had to take the 20 divided by the 4. That is not an option. That is a have to. So when it comes to substitution, we substitute in our variables using parentheses, and then use our order of operations from our last video. See you in the next one.